Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Once Upon a Time. For those of you who are not aware, Once Upon a Time is an interesting storytelling series. It's a very humble initiative by Aradhana Online with the objective of bringing back the joy of telling stories and hearing stories. Just recently, we finished the Demon series. Before that, we did the Ramayana series, and we've also talked about, some inspiring scientists, war heroes, historic figures, Panchatantra tales, Tenali Rama's tales, great acharyas, you name it, we got it. So, right now, we are about to begin yet another fascinating, interesting series of stories, and that is Dashavatara. Dasha means 10, Avatara means to descend, incarnations. In fact, Srimad Bhagavatam says, there are not just 10 incarnations, there are innumerable number of incarnations, just like the waves in the ocean that you can't count. Lord's incarnations like those many. Lord keeps on coming in different forms, at different places, at different times to achieve different purposes. In fact, Bhagavatam says we can categorize these avataras as Purusha avataras, Leela avataras, Guna avataras, Manvantara avataras, Yuga avataras, Shaktyavesh avataras. But for this particular series, let us just narrow our focus by focusing exclusively on Srila Jayadeva Goswami's devotional composition Sri Dashavatara Stotra, 10 incarnations. You perhaps have already heard, relished the melodious devotional rendition of this particular song by M.S. Subbalakshmi Amma. You may have also seen the beautiful sculptures of these incarnations on the temple premises. But let me tell you, as part of this storytelling series right here for Dashavatara, we are going to cover a lot more details by getting into the fascinating stories behind every incarnation. Are you ready? I hope you are. I am. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, the very last chapter, that is chapter number 24, Shri Parikshit Maharaj is asking Srila Shukadeva Goswami some interesting questions. In fact, the very first incarnation of this Dashavatara series is the fish incarnation, Matsyavatara. Of the 18 Puranas, there is one exclusive Purana dedicated for this particular incarnation, Matsya Purana. But I am not going to refer to that heavily, but instead I am going to focus on Srimad Bhagavatam. Maharaja Parikshit, I am blown away by his eagerness and enthusiasm to hear Krishna Katha. Can you imagine? He has just 7 days to live. He is about to die. He is cursed by the Brahmana boy. A blessing in disguise. And Maharaja Parikshit has renounced everything that he possesses. He is sitting on the banks of the Ganges. There is his spiritual master, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, a 16-year-old, great sage, the son of Srila Vyasadeva. 7 days, 7 nights, he continuously hears Srimad Bhagavatam without any break. If you and I happen to miss just one breakfast or one lunch or one dinner, we say, oh, my head is hurting, oh, I'm feeling this, oh, I'm feeling that, I didn't have my meal. And if we happen to fast for one whole day, like for Ekadashi or Janmashtami or some festival or something, the next day we will be like so groggy, so tired, oh, I can't lift my hand, oh, I can't do this, I have fasted for one whole day. But here is Maharaja Parikshit. Continuously, he has not eaten anything, he has not taken a sip of water, he has not even gotten up from his place to stretch his legs. That is the beauty of hearing Krishna Katha from pure devotees. That you just go on, Pibatam, Rasamalayam. It is said that you drink the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's an alayam of rasa, mellow. that automatically your thirst is gone, your hunger is gone, your everything else is gone except for hearing Krishna Katha. Such a wonderful lesson. And Parikshit, there are 12 cantos, he's already heard 7 cantos, so this comes in 8th canto, this Matsya incarnation in one chapter, that is 24th chapter of canto 8, and it is starting by Parikshit Maharaj speaking. Shri Rajo Vacha. Who is the Raja? Raja Parikshit. Bhagavan Shrotumichchami Harer Adbhuta Karmana Avatar Katam Adya Maya Matsya Vidambanam. So what is he saying? Maharaja Parikshit said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari is eternally situated in his transcendental position, yet he descends to this material world and manifests himself in various incarnations. His first incarnation was that of a great fish. Oh, most powerful Shukadeva Goswami, I wish to hear from you the pastimes of that fish incarnation. Yadartam adadatrupam matsyam lokajugupsitam tama prakriti durmarsham karma grasta iveshwaraha etanno bhagavan sarvam yata vadvaktumarhasi uttama shloka charitam sarva loka sukavaham. Beautiful, beautiful. So what do these two shlokas mean? What was the purpose for which the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepted the abominable form of a fish exactly as an ordinary living being accepts different forms under the laws of karma? The form of a fish is certainly condemned and full of terrible pain. O my Lord, what was the purpose of this incarnation? Kindly explain this to us, for hearing about the pastimes of the Lord is auspicious for everyone. Amazing question to begin the Matsya incarnation. Raja Parikshit is speaking to Shukadeva Goswami, and what did he say? What did he ask? He's saying, oh Shukadeva Goswami, we all know that we, the jivas, the living entities, we are having to take birth in different species. Sometimes as a fish, sometimes as a boar, sometimes as a mosquito, sometimes as an elephant, sometimes as an ant, sometimes as Indra, sometimes as Brahma, sometimes as a frog, sometimes as a human being. Why? Because of the laws of karma, because of papa and punya, because of our desire to enjoy independently of Krishna. Material nature is pushing us into these various forms. Okay, that much is understood. He is asking, but why is the Lord coming in these different forms? He is not subjected to laws of karma. Then why is he coming? Why did he come, that too in the form of a fish? And Maharaja Parikshit is saying, fish is an abominable form. It's condemned. Why? Fish is kind of a dirty incarnation, quote unquote dirty, not to offend anyone. Because fish basically eats all kinds of dirt. Okay, and it's a terrible, painful situation all the time. It is there in the water body. So Parikshit is asking, why did he come in this abominable form, although he does not have to? But the Lord does not do anything without a good reason behind it. So he's asking, so what is the purpose for which he incarnated as a fish? So not just as a fish, we know that in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, sloka 7, Krishna says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajamyaham. So Krishna has already described Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. Wherever there is a decline in dharma, adharma, abhyuttanam, where there is a rise in adharma, at that time Krishna said, I incarnate. And when he does incarnate, what does he do? Bhagavad Gita 4.8, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So when he does come, whenever and wherever, what does he do? Paritranaya sadhuna. I protect my devotees, sadhus. Vinashaya cha dushkritam. Incidentally, he will also destroy the dushkritis. All these evil ones, the demons. Just like when he killed Hiranyakashipu, killing Hiranyakashipu was an incidental thing, but the primary purpose was Paritranaya sadhunam. And who was the sadhu? Prahlad Maharaj. Killing the Kauravas was incidental, but what was the primary purpose? To protect his great devotees, the Pandavas, to protect Kunti Maharani. To kill Kamsa was incidental. But to give joy and share the pastimes with his mother Devaki, with his father Vasudeva, Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Maiya, this was primary. So for every incarnation, this is the primary purpose of the Lord. In fact, Sri Suta Uvacha Ityukto Vishnuratena Bhagavan Badarayani Uvacha Charitam Vishnor Matsya Rupena Yatkritam. So Suta Goswami is saying that now Shukadeva Goswami is about to describe the pastime of this fish incarnation. Shri Shuka Uvacha Go Viprasura Sadhunam Chandasamapi Cheshwaraha Raksham Ichcham Stanurdatte Dharmasyartasya Chaivahi. So Shukadeva Goswami is saying, O King Parikshit, for the sake of protecting the cows, brahmanas, demigods, devotees, the Vedic literature, religious principles, and principles to fulfill the purpose of life, the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts the forms of incarnations. Go Brahmana Hitaya cha, to protect cows, brahmanas, and all kinds of other things. Shukadeva Goswami is saying that is why the Lord comes. So actually, this Matsya Avatara happens two times. The very first time that it happened was in the previous day of Brahma. Who is Brahma? He is the secondary creator. Why I am calling him the secondary creator and not the primary creator? Because Brahma is not completely independent. He is not the Supreme Lord. He is empowered by Lord Vishnu in order to do the creation, material creation. He comes from the Nabi, the navel of Mahavishnu. And this Lord Brahma also lives 100 years. Just like, our average lifespan is also 100 years. But the interesting thing is, our 100 years is very, very, very different from his 100 years. Let me put that in perspective for you. His one day, 12 hours, has 1000 Divya Yugas. It is called Kalpa. What is now Divya Yuga? One Divya Yuga is made up of the 4 Yugas: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. All 4 Yugas put together is one Divya Yuga. Like that, 1000 Divya Yugas put together is one Kalpa or one day. Just 12 hours. And Kali Yuga itself is 4,32,000 years. Dwapara Yuga is twice of Kali Yuga, 8,64,000 years. Treta Yuga, 3 times of Kali Yuga, 12,96,000 years. Satya Yuga, 4 times of Kali Yuga. So it's just mind-blowing numbers. And these 1000 Divya Yugas are split into 14 periods. So 1000 divided by 14, I believe it's 71 point something. We can just round it off and say 71. So 71 Divya Yugas is one period of Manvantara. One Manu's period, I must say. Manvantara is in between 2 Manus. So one Manus, so there are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma. Man, man comes from Manu. Manava comes from Manu. And each Manu is a position. And they have, different people have different names who occupy these positions. So the first Matsya Avatara, fish incarnation, happened during the Swayambhuva Manu's time. In fact, it was towards the end of the day for Lord Brahma. He was tired, he was feeling a little sleepy, and he was just going to sleep. And while he was resting, the Vedas, which Lord Brahma received directly from Lord Vishnu, although he was resting, the chanting, the mantras of Vedas was being uttered from his mouth. So at this particular time, there was a demon called Hayagriva. Now don't get confused, because Krishna also has taken another form. He is also called Hayagriva. This is not that Hayagriva. There is a demon called Hayagriva. So this Hayagriva demon, he came and he stole the Vedas from Brahma. He stole it. So there is gross stealing and there is subtle stealing. Gross stealing, if somebody comes and steals this table, it's gross stealing. Somebody coming and stealing money from the bank, it's gross stealing. But subtle stealing, just like we say patents. Why do people patent certain things? Because not any Tom, Dick and Harry can simply, steal the knowledge and then they go and produce various products or, services, whatever that is. That is why they say this is copyrighted. You can't copy this without our permission. This is patented. You have to pay a certain amount of money. You have to take permission to use it. Otherwise, this is subtle kind of stealing, to steal somebody's knowledge. Just like Mantara, the evil Mantara, she stole the intelligence of Kaikeyi by putting all this kida into her mind and saying that, oh this, oh that, Bharata should be the king, Rama should not be the king, you do this, you take advantage. So much, she stole the intelligence of Kaikeyi. Then Kaikeyi did not know what's right, what's wrong, then she just did what she shouldn't have done. So this is subtle stealing. So this Hayagriva, he stole the Vedic knowledge. And the knowledge of Vedas is actually belonging to the devotees who can use it properly to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Even today, some demons are there like Hayagriva. They will take Bhagavad Gita, they will contaminate it with their own objectives, their own misinterpretations. They will take Bhagavatam and they'll try to make money out of it. They may do like 7 days Bhagavata Katha, but professionally, but not with a tinge of devotion. I'm not telling everybody is like that. I'm just telling that few of them. There are some people who take the principles of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, they concoct it, misinterpret it, and come up with their own thing. So all these are demoniac qualities. So this Hayagriva, he stole the knowledge of Vedas, and anyway, remember now it's like a pralaya time, inundation. The whole creation is submerged in water because Brahma is sleeping. So this Hayagriva went and hid inside these, inside this water of inundation. So in order to protect the Vedic knowledge, the Vedas, the Lord incarnated in the form of a fish. He came and defeated Hayagriva. He retrieved the Vedas back and gave it back to Brahma. So this is the first incarnation of Matsya. But the second incarnation of Matsya happened during the time of Chakshusha Manu. During Chakshusha Manu's period, there was a great devotee king called Satyavrata. Very, very pious, very devout. He would perform a lot of austerities for pleasing the Lord, and one such austerity was he had taken a vow that he would survive only on drinking water. We are relishing all types of prasadam and everything, juices, salads, appetizers, desserts. And here is Satyavrata, King Satyavrata, who was drinking only on water and surviving on that. So what did he do? He went to the banks of the river, he went to give Arghya. Arghya is, like sometimes when we go to river Ganges also, we take some water in our palms and then pour it back to Ganga. Kereya neeranu kerege chelli, avara dasara pada. The water doesn't belong to us. Simply the act of taking and offering it to the Lord, we get punya. So here, King Satyavrata was offering arghya, and in fact, with so much of respect, he was chanting the prayers. It is very, you say, unrightful, or it's not the proper etiquette. When we see some water body, just to put our feet into it, just relish it, do some water sports. In fact, that is why our ancestors, even before stepping into the water or even taking bath, actually, they would say, Gange cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Siddhim Kuru. They would pray to all these holy rivers, their personified forms, saying that you please give me the permission. So this is our rich culture, that even before touching any river, getting into it or taking bath, they chant these prayers. Before touching Mother Earth, the very first thing in the morning, they ask forgiveness from Mother Earth that my dirty feet is touching your holy surface. Please forgive me. Such is our rich culture. Surya Namaskara, Surya, Lord Sun God is giving us so much of sunlight. So we thank him through Surya Namaskara. So how wonderful that our ancestors lived a life of gratitude. They didn't take anything for granted. They did not exploit anything. They just utilized everything in the service of the Lord. So King Satyavrata, when he was offering this arghya, just when he took a handful of water, he saw that there was a little tiny fish. And just like we would do, he just put it back. But to his surprise, the fish started speaking. He said, "Oh Raja Satyavrata, why did you put me back? Please don't do that. You're a king. You're supposed to be the protector. You are responsible for the security and safety for everybody in your kingdom. And I'm also your citizen. I'm a tiny little fish. I'm so scared for my life. I'm scared that big fishes will eat me up." Look at how amazing it is. We will eventually see that this fish is none other than the Supreme Lord. And look, in such a piteous, appealing tone, how he is placing his request, saying that I'm scared. He is scared. Fear personified is scared of the Supreme Lord, and he is saying he is scared of the big fish. Fear personified is scared of the Supreme Lord, and he fears the stick in the hand of Mother Yashoda in Damodara Leela. So wonderful, so amazing Supreme Lord is. So he said, "I'm so scared big fishes will eat me up. So you please give me a safe, secure place." Okay, King Satyavrata said, "Fine." So he took this fish back and he put it in a jug of water because it was a tiny little fish. But overnight, this fish grew so big and the jug wasn't sufficient for it. So the next day morning, the fish spoke to Satyavrata again, said, "King Satyavrata, this place is not enough for me. Please transfer me. Give me a more suitable place." Satyavrata was astonished. What is this? Overnight, this fish grew so big. He took the fish and put it in a well. And he grew big in that also. Then again he requested, "This well is too tiny for me. Please shift me somewhere else." So King Satyavrata took it to a lake, and there also he grew so big, and the lake also was not sufficient for him. He again requested, "Please put me in a suitable place." So King Satyavrata, he put him in the largest reservoir that he had in his entire kingdom. And there also he grew so big. And then he took him and transferred him to ocean. And there King Satyavrata saw that in Bhagavatam it is given, this fish grew overnight 100 yojanas, and 1 yojana equal to 8 miles. That means 800 miles long this fish grew. By now King Satyavrata understood there's something going on. This is no ordinary fish which is, continuously growing so swiftly. So he told the fish, "I know that you are no ordinary fish. In fact, I'm suspecting that you are the Supreme Lord himself." This fish, the Matsyavatara, he smiled and said, "Yes, I am indeed the Supreme Lord and I am here to, help you, to protect you." So King Satyavrata paid Dandavat pranams. He offered his prayers, humble prayers unto the lotus feet of the Lord. And then the Lord said, in 7 days' time, there is going to be pralaya, the devastation. The entire earth is going to be submerged. There's all kinds of destructive things that's going to happen. But King Satyavrata, you don't have to worry because you are my devotee. He says, wait until 7 days until all these things happen, and then I myself will send you a gigantic boat. So you and the Sapta Rishis, all kinds of variety of living beings, herbs, precious seeds, you transport everything, all of you get on board this boat, and then I myself will come in my Matsyavatara. Then you can tie this boat to the horn that I am going to have. Very interesting. This fish has a horn also. And he says you can use the serpent Vasuki, the special snake Vasuki. You can use him to tie unto, to my horn, and then I myself will take all of you and protect you. Not to worry. Satyavrata, King Satyavrata is so grateful for this, benediction by the Lord upon him. And all 7 days, after this fish vanished. So for the next 7 days, he sat on a kusha grass and he continuously meditated upon the Matsyavatara, offering various kinds of prayers with utmost devotion, lovingly towards the Lord. And when the 7th day did come, exactly like the Lord said, the ocean overflowed. Imagine just a little bit of rain, just past 3-4 days here, it's been raining. And such a mess it is. Of course, rains are good. So now imagine that, the ocean itself is overflowing. What kind of devastation will happen? This is the characteristic of pralaya. And that ocean's water started inundating the entire earth, and the Brahmanas and the Sapta Rishis requested King Satyavrata to start praying to the Lord, and then this humongous boat appeared, and then he continuously kept praying. All of them boarded that boat, and then the Lord himself came in this beautiful, most wonderful, very, very fascinating golden Matsyavatara, golden fish form with this beautiful horn. And Bhagavatam says this Matsyavatara, the golden fish with the horn, was 8 million miles long. 8 million miles long. Can't even imagine. It's beyond our conception. And that's true. It is inconceivable for us. That is why in 4.9 Krishna is saying, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. Krishna is saying, my janma karma is everything divyam. It's divine. It's inconceivable. So 8 million miles long fish, golden fish. So beautiful. Just like instructed, this King Satyavrata, he used Vasuki as the rope to tie the boat to the horn of the fish, and the fish very nicely helped them cross over this devastation and protected all of them. And that is this glorious Matsyavatara, the very first avatara that Sri Jayadeva Goswami is describing in his Dashavatara Stotra. And in fact, it is said that this same King Satyavrata, next he became the Manu. His name was Shraddha Deva. He came as the son of Vivaswan, and Vivaswan is the sun god. And Lord named him as the Manu. So that is why in chapter 4, sloka number 1 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Sri Bhagavanu Vacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanaham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manor Ikshvakave Bravi. So Krishna is telling Arjuna here that the same knowledge, the wisdom of Gita that I am about to give you, Arjuna, I gave this very same wisdom to sun god Vivaswan 120 million years ago. And that sun god Vivaswan spoke the same knowledge and gave it to his son Manu, and that Manu is none other than King Satyavrata. Very, very beautiful. That is why the current Manu is called Vaivasvata Manu. That same King Satyavrata has come as Vaivasvata Manu, and in his period we are right now present. Very beautiful. So I hope you relished the Matsyavatara description. So let us end today's Once Upon a Time Dashavatara series part 1 with the very first stanza of Sri Dashavatara Stotra. Pralaya payodi jale Keshava Dhrutavanasi Vedam Keshava Pralaya payodi jale Keshava Dhrutavanasi Vedam Keshava Vihitavahitra Charitramakedam Vihitavahitra Charitramakedam Keshava Dhrita Meena Sharira Keshava Dhrita Meena Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshava Jaya Jagadisha Hare. So all glories to Matsya Rupa, all glories to Meena Sharira, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. So we will see you again in next session of Dashavatara. So yet another avatara, what it's going to be, what is the fascinating story behind it, all that and more next time. Hare Krishna.